T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome.
I always wait to see who's gonna do it. Okay, go ahead.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another legendary episode of the Midheaven Podcast, which might actually come after the one we're shooting before. So
They don't need to know that, do they?
No.
No, I mean, it's fine. This is just director's note or
it's like
editor's note. We're doing this backwards, but that's okay.
I just tried to Mercury retrograde you right now, even though
that
it'll be
makes
direct
sense.
by then. But yeah.
I was actually thinking about this because I didn't think it was time to do this episode, but it just so happens to be time to do this episode because we've been like total champs. We've been filming back to back for several weeks now. Usually we do every other week, and we're like week 3. We're in it to win it, kids. Yeah. Are you still on the nicotine?
No, you know what? This is THC and CBD.
And they don't cancel each other out? Because I've heard some people do CBD to, like, bring your high down. I guess it depends on the amount of, like, CBD.
There's, a champagne effect, I heard.
Oh.
Yeah, when you mix them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Excuse
I don't
me.
know if champagne's the word,
Right.
but we're about to find out.
Champagne is the word. Champagne is the word. Cheers. I'm very excited for this because I was like, oh, it's time to do the Cancer season episode. Everybody's favorite villain.
Really? Cancer's
I
villainy
feel like
team?
Cancers are the real villains in ZODIAC. You would just never know because they're not like really like taking responsibility for it.
Or because they're healing you, so
Yeah.
how can the person nurturing you be the evil villain? So slick.
Oh, for sure. You could totally be nurturing and be the evil villain. I feel like it's such an easy...
They can just cook it in your food or put it in your drink. Yeah. Damn.
But yeah, we're going to be talking to you guys all about Cancer season in this episode. Our hot takes from some of the transits throughout that about month-long period. So Cancer season is going to actually kick off on June 21st, 2022, around 2 a.m. when the sun ingresses into Cancer. And it will be the summer solstice. Can you believe this? Can you believe that it's almost halfway through the year already? I mean, by the time you guys are watching this, it is halfway through the year, but it's just like mind blown. I feel like time is going by so fast.
Hot take. This very controversial. Actually, it's not that controversial. Just maybe a little bit. But how many more shootings are we gonna have by then? Who knows?
Oh my god! I mean, it's. Here's the thing. I don't even know if I want to get into this.
Yeah.
I feel, and I saw somebody post this recently. You want to talk about controversial? Somebody was saying something like, "Oh, blah blah blah," because so many people are up in arms saying that we should, essentially like make it a lot more challenging to be able to get a firearm and have to go through all these like hoops.
Is it true that elections are coming up soon too?
Well, midterms are, but not until the fall. It's in November.
Oh my god.
But I mean, like, come on, dude. Like, what the fuck? Like, Mars enters Aries. Jupiter enters Aries. This is in May. There's a school shooting. Everybody's flipping out over fucking monkeypox.
Pluto in 28 degrees retrograde.
We've also got all this abortion stuff that's going on. Them trying to take away trans rights. I know I'm missing something. There's something else.
I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, there's just tons and tons of stuff going on that's just infuriating people and creating a lot of anger. And so what's interesting is like, Cancer's 4 signs to Aries. So now it becomes about, well, what are we protecting? How can we better protect our home, our family, our children, our emotions, our moms, women? I think kind of like, really similar to how, when was it? It was another ingress that we had. I think it was right when Mars entered Aries. We saw the moon enter with Mars, and it happened at the same time. It was like moon, Mars, and then Jupiter were all in Aries the day that Mars ingressed.
Like a few days ago, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if you look
magic.
at how the summer solstice starts, Moon's in Aries, conjunct Jupiter, coming into a square with the sun off the bat. Not a lot of people will cast the charts for the equinoxes or the solstices, but I feel like it's incredibly important because it's setting a new marker for the next quarter. So this is essentially going to be taking us the next 3 months until we get to...
the 1, 2, 3, blah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
this is the halfway point through the year, but it's also initiating a new season, a new theme. Obviously, usually, the moon is the ruler of Cancer, so seeing the sun there, it's highlighting more solar themes revolving around our emotions, how we're acting on our emotions. Are we acting emotionally? Are we emotionally defensive? And it's like, boom, Sun square Jupiter, I don't mind. It's a little excessive. It can be over the top.
It is over the top.
But the moon conjunct Jupiter square the sun
It's larger than life.
is setting the stage for the better part of the next several months, which we will see just through the Jupiter and Aries transit anyway.
Which in a nutshell is carnage, but please go ahead.
Yeah, no, it is. But I feel like it's also like a lot of people becoming very self-righteous and this overemphasis on my beliefs, my philosophy, my way of doing things, and it's like very like
Delusional.
confrontational. It can be delusional, but it's confrontational. So this is going to be the energy
Confrontational.
until we get into September when we see the fall equinox in Libra. And I could be wrong, but by then we're already coming into like the Mars shadow in Gemini, and we're going to see a Mercury retrograde that's going to be happening
And a Jupiter shadow, too.
Libra that's going to drop into Virgo. So there's a lot of like having to like bring ourselves back to relationships then. And I just feel like this is setting the stage for the next 3 months of just people acting out emotionally, right?
Well, that was just superb. The pointing out the quarter is really like important. And also it's kind of wild how the moon comes back around when we go into Cancer. Mm-hmm. And what I noticed with Cancer too is I underestimated how crucial it is to identity politics and how really racial it gets.
Yeah, roots.
Roots, right?
Cancer's
Yeah.
roots,
And
our heritage.
defending your
yeah.
heritage, and how that you understand your identity through that. But that Pluto opposition to me is the boss battle. We start the quarter off
Shit.
with the last time, and this is the last opposition to Pluto we'll have before it goes into Aquarius and then retrogrades back. But
Yeah.
that's like in a video game, the very last time you fight the boss. And then the square to Aries I see is like the fire heating the water, like a pressure cooker.
It's extremely active because, if we're looking at the theme of Cancer, we're going to always be paying attention to like the lunar aspects, right? So we start seeing that then there will be, I guess one other thing I would say is that I'm not mad at the fact that quite a few planets are going to be in their domicile. Mars in Aries, Saturn in Aquarius, Jupiter in Neptune, Venus in Taurus, Mercury in Gemini.
That's legendary.
At least it's almost kind of like when you have the band playing
Yeah.
and every instrument is playing its proper sheet music and it's playing the tune.
It's like a reset too.
Right. So when everything kind of gets into the zone of where it functions the best, we can actually start to see movement. We see forward momentum, and that's really what Gemini season was about too. We saw a lot of forward momentum, chaotic, but forward momentum,
As soon as Gemini season started too, but that's why I want to highlight that whole notion of starting the quarter off like that, because it just looks like the way Gemini season started, Cancer season like obviously turns the page, but really sets the sails towards what direction we go.
But also look at this, right? So it's off by about a solar arc minute, but when the sun ingresses to like 0 of Cancer, the ascendant is in Taurus, at least here in Vegas.
Right.
And the north node is conjunct the ascendant with Venus, right? Which by sign you know, Cancer is second to that. So there's a sextile. So it's more about like, what are we experiencing in terms of pleasure? What are we feeling? You know, do we feel safe? Do we feel secure? Are we not just surviving? Are we thriving? And are we feeling comfortable?
A lot of new self-definition too.
Yeah.
With the
Yeah.
And like you said, like such an exaggerated sense of self leading into righteous self-beliefs. But you know what? I keep on thinking Lilith is invisible. There's a lot of repressed sluts and repressed
Ooh, I like that.
whoredom or repressed slutty energy that's going to just come out unexpectedly for better, and I don't think for worse. And you know, if you get over this ego, I think there could be a lot of sexual breakthrough.
That's going to be interesting for just Cancer placements in general. Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising. I mean, I get the whole side of like the repressed slut, but I think that, you know, Lilith in Cancer is like the Madonna whore complex.
Yeah.
Right? So being in the sign of Cancer, which is like very maternal, kind of like breastfeeding and nurturing and big titties and all that like Cancerian stuff. And then you also have this sense of like not being able to have both, like not being able to be sexual and like also maternal. And I think a lot will come up in regards to anger and rage and repression.
Especially with no Libra to really balance.
No. Yeah, no.
Not that Libra planets automatically do, but that there's so much empty potential there that it really gives you personally all onus to be as savage as possible and go against, because the Pluto square really favors the taboo and the bold, because it's going to test your fear. And most people are scared little wieners that don't want to be unpopular. So
there's something about the fact that it's going to involve Sun, Lilith, Ceres, all in Cancer coming and making that opposition inevitably at some point to Pluto. What do you make of that being on the axis of Cancer and Capricorn, and the fact that this is going to bring up the theme of where we're having extreme issues in regards to the housing market, homelessness, cost of living, crisis revolving around being able to have safe shelter, whether or not the government is stepping in and getting involved. I say government, Pluto and Capricorn, to help us with this, and whether it's, you know, housing or protecting our families. Certainly that's a hot topic, because you brought up, you know, like gun control.
Yeah.
And not to be insensitive, but I genuinely, I remember what I was saying, but somebody was basically saying, like, what if we were to apply the same limitations to gun control that certain individuals are trying to apply to abortion right now? Make it really difficult. You have to go out of state. Certain states won't allow you to be able to get a gun. You have to go to another place. You have to, you know, apply for it, wait 24 to 48 hours, maybe you get somebody's approval. Like, what if it was that challenging? I don't think many people would stand for that. So I think you're going to see this theme of like, well, who determines which life is more valuable, right? Is it somebody who gets shot in an elementary school, or is it an unborn fetus? And it's kind of like you're going to see a lot of like people who are getting up in arms over this theme of like life, right? Especially because the North Node is in Taurus, whether that's fertility or loss of life or food, substance, whatever. These are going to be very important topics during this transit.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to understand that nobody can prepare for what's coming, you know? This Cancer season is the open door towards the collapse of all of that bullshit. And I have to say bullshit because as pressing and important as it is, you want to think of this year specifically, and Pluto at the end of Capricorn, as everything you expertly said being the tipping point post America's Pluto return, to where we inevitably all this shit hits the fan. And the dangerous thing about it, which I respect Cancer for, because their ninth house is Pisces, so we start to see the unseen when we, establish this quarter. And that Neptune veil in Pisces, it's what's not allowing us to see how bad it really is. Because not everyone is like Hades here, who can literally see through the veil and like warn people of what's happening. This is going to be such a sudden collective shift, Pluto Aqua, Neptune Aries, where it's like, oh shit, this is how bad it's been. So I feel like this Cancer season, one thing you said that was really key, not only does Cancer season bring in the quarter, Cancer season to Virgo integrates everything that we started Aries season. So this is one of the most important transits to Cap, because you go through the doorway of Gemini, and now we're going up the mountain where we're taking everything we established in our farm and we're starting to farm that bitch and make it grow and harvest it Virgo season. So, you know, it's a very special point, and I think this point with that boss battle is going to show us how screwed some people are, but also how victorious other people are. I think this could be with the squares, be that noticeable divide where the effects of what people did 2020 start to affect you really, because your decisions are catching up with you.
Yeah. Just looking, kind of scanning through some of the transits, I mean, I think the other kind of anticipated, kind of ingress that I was waiting for, Venus is going to go into Venus is going to go into Gemini.
Oh, God.
So that's interesting. I mean, I think throughout the transit, you're going to see it, make some positive aspects. It's going to trine Saturn. It's going to sextile Jupiter. It's going to sextile Chiron. Sure, it'll come into square with Neptune. Mercury comes out of shadow. We see the new moon in Cancer here. Around, looks like it's going to be around like 7 degrees and change on the 29th of June.
Yeah.
With the Mars and Mars square Pluto kind of in the background. That's something I've been watching. I really looked at the transits all through June, watching Mars come into Aries at the end of May, then coming into conjunction with Jupiter at the end of May. And that in itself is starting a new cycle. Mm-hmm. Like the Mars-Jupiter conjunction, think of it like later this year, Jupiter's going to retrograde. It's going to reactivate that point.
Yep.
So we're going to see that come up several times. No, the Mars-Jupiter conjunction in Jupiter. Excuse me, Mars-Jupiter conjunction in Aries.
Oh, okay. I was going to retrograde past that point.
So it's like first Mars conjunct Neptune, then it conjunct Jupiter, then it conjunct Chiron, and then the finale is Mars is going to square Pluto. So we saw the Venus square through there. Now the Mars square is going to be more action-based. It seems like there's been this theme kind of going on with like, and I'm not into twin flames, so please don't take it like this, but it's like there's been this storyline of like divine feminine and divine masculine kind of going through the need to like separately on their own deal with issues in regards to like power struggles, like gender roles. I think we're going to hear a lot about gender roles and expectations. Just having the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio, they're both feminine signs, but I think in the midst of Mars being in Aries and Venus having been in Taurus, we're going to hear a lot of like what men should do, what women should do, right? Or what masculine energy should do, and what feminine energy should do. But I think it's going to be very loud, the masculine energy this year, because Jupiter's in Aries. So even if you are, or if you identify as a woman, there's going to be a lot of like reflecting on, well, what is my masculine energy and what is my relationship with men and how can I be more assertive? And maybe there's this sense of like also men tuning more so into like primal energies.
No, I find that astounding, because if you want to know what that looks like, they just started debuting UFC matches where men and women fight each other.
I'm all for that.
Right. That's like
I am all for that.
epitome of masculine energy. Or
I mean,
power.
not to be sexist, with unless there is like a real fair.
They both agree
height,
to it.
Weight distributions, so women are going to get the shit beat out of them.
Well,
it's just going to happen.
They both agree to the fight, so as long as that's
when
the
does
thing,
it start?
No, they've already done it.
They started doing it.
They showed a clip of it happening. They didn't show I didn't see the whole fight, but it was just showing like, oh, they do this now. I'm like,
has anybody like already obviously won fights, right?
I wouldn't know. I haven't watched it. Yeah, I just saw the clip. I was like, oh shit, okay, that's what's up.
Just sounds like some fucking Tina and Ike Turner shit.
What?
I'm not making fun of domestic violence. I'm just saying like, I'm for it because I think that it's fair, but I also acknowledge the fact that like if a woman's going up against a man, for the most part, men are just inherently built to be stronger than women. That's just the way that it is. At least for the most part, obviously.
I think they do that with men too, like with weight classes and stuff like that.
Yeah, but if there's like a fair height weight situation going on,
Yeah.
I mean, okay, there you go. That's an example.
But like, do you think the dude's reputation would be worse if he lost to a certain woman, or
Why should it
wouldn't
be
matter?
worse?
So it shouldn't matter.
So should you feel better about beating the shit out of a woman and being a winner?
That too. That too.
Because a lot of people are going to be like, way to go, you beat a bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Well, like, I'll say that's fair because they both agree with the fight, right? But like,
but if I kicked a man's ass, I'd be
does it
like,
make you
suck my
better?
dick.
That too.
You know,
like, you know what I'm saying?
that's
Like,
a whole new level of street
right, straight up, right. I got some dudes under my belt. Like, I'm
There's some women doing that behind the scenes. They don't brag about it, but, you know, it happens.
Yo, that's kind of why I think it's fair. It kind of gives you...
I think it's fair,
bragging
but it
rights.
shouldn't make one side feel more or less empowered because of the win. But by the
Right.
same token, it's like this shit that's going on with the Olympics. No disrespect to like trans people. I don't really give a fuck what you guys do. But if you're having an Olympic sport where you have a man that's identifying as a woman, but you have a penis, and you're going up against women, is that fair? Because you identify as a woman, is that fair? You may have testosterone and all kinds of other muscular makeup and things that women don't have. Like, is that fair? I don't know. I think the world is getting kind of crazy, and I think people should just let people do what they want. And if they want to have penises and date women and wear dresses, like, more power to them. But, like, I just think it's getting very confusing. And I've realized, and I have joked about this with my husband, the older that I'm getting, the more that I realize I'm a closet Republican.
No, I feel you. Yeah.
You know? And it's kind of fucked. It's kind of
Yeah.
fucked because, like, now I'm starting to kind of understand. And, like, I will probably never vote again, full disclosure. At
You
some sort of
too?
point. Yeah.
I was thinking of maybe Kanye just because, but yeah, no, I'm done.
Even the bird outside is laughing at you right now.
That's wild. Why not?
Because Kanye's fucking crazy. The Kardashians are still going to do him in.
Well,
the end is near for Kanye.
It's still Kanye. Like,
I know, I get it. I understand. But maybe he and Trump can, like, run together for another country. I don't know. Fuck.
I'm off
I can't wait
elections.
until it's the end of 2022 and Kanye goes crazy and we do an episode on it and I'm going to reference this conversation. And there's going to be, like, 3 other conversations where I've brought it up. And I'm going to be like, what did I tell you?
God
Kanye's
damn
going
it.
to go to jail or he's going to start a cult. That's all I'm saying.
He's not going to jail, but he is doing like a bit of prison reform. So I think that's what you're picking up on. So it's probably going to be a cult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prisoner cult.
Prison
cult.
reform. He is performing for prisoners
There you
too.
go. Johnny Cash did it first.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a legendary crazy. It might be the Kanye rant of all rants.
I mean, hopefully it'll be really good for, like, album sales, you know?
See, and he's always a master of that. Always, actually.
So what do you think about this new moon, with the moon obviously being in Cancer, with the square to Jupiter? So it's kind of claiming that square again. Everything's being amplified because of the square to Jupiter in Cancer season.
Well, you kind of answered the question there. Like, that square is easily the most significant aspect, which we know the new moon is. We're planting new seeds. These are, Aries is the 1-2 punch, boom, boom, boom. And then Cancer is the next 1, 2, 3 that integrates what we're getting ready to harvest, right? So what's really interesting is Gemini's new moon was sextile Jupiter with Mars. And so I see that as like bouncing up in the air and then stabilizing it with the next new moon. Like, we expanded towards a direction, an idea, and now we're intensifying that direction with Cancer.
I think with the square to Jupiter and Lilith being smack dab in the middle of this new moon is particularly interesting to me. That makes me feel like there may be themes of prominent women, private lives of women kind of coming about, like women and what they do behind the scenes, or women who are getting more involved in, like, law and legality, especially within their home countries because of the square to Jupiter.
And bodies that are washed up ashore, probably murdered.
fucking cat moon. Some dark shit. Yeah, that's true. That's actually going to be right on my... That's like right on my Jupiter. Then we've got the Mercury square Neptune setting up right as Mars in Aries is squaring Pluto. So, wow, this is a rather intense time.
That square to Jupiter happens while Pluto squares Mars. And
I feel like when the moon in Cancer comes into opposition with Pluto, Mars is coming into square with Pluto. So that's a cardinal T-square.
Yeah.
And then we're also seeing Mercury coming into a square with Neptune. That reads to me like just very chaotic, very reactionary, confrontational. I mean, the moon's releasing through Neptune, but there seems to be some sense of like, obviously, Mercury square Neptune, facts, data, information, manipulation, stuff being put out there that's not honest, maybe. It does trine Saturn, but it's still being like distorted.
Well, we know there's no Sagittarius and Virgo, so everything being presented to us is a half truth. It's not the full whatever. But
then the Mars Pluto square sets up, which is quite dangerous. You know, I think of like Mars as being the need to fight, stand up, argue, conflict, cutting, severing, burning, and it's squaring off with Pluto, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like Mars being in its home sign of Aries and Pluto being in Capricorn, I feel like Pluto still has the upper hand. Even though Mars is making the aspect to Pluto, I feel like Pluto is still going to basically like cut down individual rights.
It's crazy because this happened last time.
Yeah.
This is after the autonomous zone in 2020.
Yeah.
That finally got taken down, and then there were remember 27 degrees Mars was right before that staged Capitol riots when it went into Taurus.
Well, it's also hovering around Eris, so we don't really talk a lot about that. It's not even on my software, but Eris is, I think, 27, 28 degrees of Aries, which is further out in its orbit than Pluto. Eris is like the feminine counterpart to Pluto. It's like very like Kali energy, like very angry warrior goddess. It's like a fusion of like Pluto and Mars.
No way.
So, you know, if you think back to when we had like Uranus in Aries and we were seeing the squares to Pluto, it was bringing up lots of like upheaval and like conflict and something
exposure.
Something about that. You know, I'm just like watching. I didn't, for some reason wasn't thinking about the oppositions to Pluto, and that in many ways, you know, this is the halfway point, right, to what was the Venus retrograde, right?
The last one, right?
So when the sun is coming into opposition with Pluto, there's this like not both can survive, not both can be kept. And there's this feeling of like dealing with like fear and being overpowered and bullied and manipulated. And we look at the archetypes of Cancer, which is like more feminine and maternal and emotional. Capricorn being about
control, power, manipulation.
Yeah, but big business, you know, government. Authority. Yeah.
A way to look at it is that 2020, the government had everyone on their ass because Jupiter was on their side. But now Jupiter's on the side of the people in Aries, and now we can double flank Pluto. And I think this is a turning point where now the protests actually have a very unexpected difference, where I don't think like it'll topple anything, but it'll definitely, and you alluded to it with the square saying it would be harsh. I think by the time we step into there, we're stepping into some like intensity. I feel like everything that happened the past 3 years is going to climax.
Oh yeah, I feel
really
like,
just
you know,
like,
the second
boom.
half of 2022 is all about basically realizing what the purpose was, like
Right.
why everything has kind of gotten to the point that
Yep.
it's gotten to. That like
That's
this is the
absolutely true.
year where we see the breakdown, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah,
By
because the
Virgo season.
hard course corrections will actually be made in the spring of 2023. When
Yep.
we see Pluto go into Aquarius, the nodes square Pluto,
Yep.
the eclipses that are going to start in Aries and Libra.
That's going to be some of
Yeah.
the most extraordinary shit we've ever seen in our entire lives.
Yeah.
Unless you're Pluto Scorpio, then you're like, whatever.
I was reading something recently about the Pluto Scorpio generation, and that there is this inherent need for us to like break down and purge and destroy and kind of clear everything that is not pure.
Yeah.
Right? And that we have to go through crisis and death and rebirth, but like that's kind of the superpower of Pluto and Scorpio, because we are the bridge, or we're going to end up being the bridge to the other generations, whether it's the Pluto and Sag, you know, Pluto and Capricorn, Pluto and Aquarius people, which is kind of interesting when you think about it.
It really is. To give you even more context of what you said, which has everything to do with this Cancer season too, Pluto Scorpio is from Saturn in Scorpio with the South Node in Scorpio to Saturn in Pisces, where the North Node comes back around to Scorpio, which is so symbolic. Like, if we did a documentary on that to really like cover that, that's all collective karma. And then once Pluto goes into Sagittarius, Saturn goes into Aries, starts a whole new karmic cycle, and they literally create a whole new world, which is some of the most like ridiculous, you know, astrology. And then of course from Saturn Aries to Saturn Virgo, Pluto goes to Capricorn, and then Saturn Virgo back to Saturn Pisces. We're about to see Pluto go into Aquarius. So you can literally see how they like like karmically bring all that in. And that's why I'm biased, but I think we play such a very important role, because we literally, with our Saturns in the collective signs, have to take the power back from the collective, and like you just said, like bridge it to the Pluto Sag that's gonna individually spark their powers to create the new world.
One thing I didn't touch on, I'm just looking at it now, is Mars goes into Taurus around July 5th. So that ingress should be felt coming off the heels of 29-degree Mars.
You said something earlier that alluded to, I think, us coming to a climax and realizing why. And I think the Mercury catching up to the Sun will be that like lead up to the opposition.
I could see that. I mean, especially because it's going to be happening, you know, in proximity to when the Sun's coming into an opposition with Pluto. We see positive Venus transits. We see Venus start coming into a trine with Saturn, which is nice, because that's really going to stabilize anything relating to the North Node.
And I see why you were talking about the twin flames, because it does kind of look very like...
Are you fucking kidding me? Have you seen the astrology for the end of the year?
No.
Mars going retrograde in Gemini, squaring Neptune, trine Saturn. It's going to be like a twin flame reader's wet dream.
Yeah, the Mars retrograde in Gemini, I forgot the last time it happened in like 2012. If that did, that was very like crazy. That was like when Neptune just entered Pisces.
Well, there was a Mercury retrograde in Gemini in 2020. And then there was a Venus retrograde in Gemini in 2020. And now there's a Mars retrograde coming.
Oh,
and it all has connections and correlations to the eclipses that we had in
So Mars will
Gemini.
just set off everything the other two did too.
Yeah.
Phew.
So we've got Venus coming into a trine with Saturn, Mercury conjunct Lilith. That might be an interesting day with the square to Jupiter about some kind of truths being unveiled, or women who are somehow involved in exposing things.
Damn.
Venus is coming into the trine with Saturn right around here.
Yeah,
And-
see, that full moon is like basically pre-Kazemi. That's dangerous and ridiculous.
So then this is the full moon in Cap,
So we have
which
to
will
remember
conjunct Pluto and oppose
the Sun,
Mercury.
Mercury, yeah. And we know that this happened post-Gemini season, which Gemini season is changing our minds. So this full moon is harvesting the direction that Gemini season helped us take, which I think by this full moon, there's no turning back.
I think this full moon we're going to hear a crisis about bread and wheat,
Oh God.
because we've
Oh, it's
got the conjunction to Ceres with the Sun
No.
in opposition to Moon and Pluto. So I think we're going to hear about wheat and bread and flour shortages, grain shortages, and opiate crisis stuff, overdoses, depression, isolation, separation, like very like serious themes, you know? I'm
Right.
concerned just looking at that, just knowing what's been going on recently. Like, if any of you guys have been doing any of your own investigative journalism, because I know I have. I've been following this stuff with like the baby formula, the shortages, which is kind of serious. Like the few times I've gone to the store the last couple of weeks, like there is no formula on the shelves. You look at Canada, for you change your Amazon priority like shipping if you wanted to buy from Canada, or if you look at some of the stores just across the border in Mexico, there is no shortages. The shortages are being orchestrated and created here in the States. Now, a lot of people are saying it's because there's only 2 or 3 major, people or producers of baby formula, and they got shut down, obviously, because there was some infant deaths and there were some issues, particularly with contamination, which is serious. It's crazy to me. The world that we live in right now is crazy to me. You know, they shut that down, and they can't prioritize getting formula on the shelves for parents, but we're sending billions of dollars to the Ukraine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of fucking nuts. And then this whole monkeypox thing where they're saying, like, monkeypox, there's been a couple cases, and then all of a sudden we're buying, like, hundreds of millions of vaccines for monkeypox.
What?
Yeah, like, this is, like, I think they're setting this up to be, like, the next thing.
Well, the reason why I want to, like, I think that's really important because when they set up the last thing, Jupiter was in Cap. So Jupiter being in Aries is literally starting.
It's just very reminiscent to end of February, early March 2020.
Yeah.
When we were hearing about it, and then it became a thing. And I just have this sneaky suspicion, and I'm a little, like, still shell-shocked looking at these degrees and the oppositions, because very similar degrees were getting triggered, you know, through Capricorn when we had lockdowns, those late degrees of Capricorn. Mm. And it's going to, you know, form the sextile to Neptune. We're looking at the North Node in Uranus getting very close. The moon, you know, being in Capricorn, no disrespect, but it's not so comfortable there. Conjunction to Pluto. This is a Hades moon, y'all. I mean, this is like the dark side of the moon, basically. That's what this is.
And Jupiter is provoking it with that square. So it's literally a lever being switched. And like you said, like, there's just no turning back.
I think it's just anything and everything that's going to scare people into staying in their homes.
Yeah, I believe that.
Right?
For sure.
With that opposition.
Would you drink synthetic water?
You mean beer?
Good question.
Synthetic water. How do you create synthetic water? By infusing molecules?
Like, there's a shortage of water. So, like, what if they created, like, GMO water?
You don't want GMO anything.
But what if that's all you can drink?
I guess you have no option, or you're going to, I mean, there's no doubt the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that's coming, that's what the next thing is going to be. I mean, Saturn-Neptune in Pisces is going to be water, and it's also going to be viruses, things that are invisible.
And viruses in the water, huh?
Yeah, viruses are already in the water.
Well, it was nice knowing you folks. Yeah.
Are we missing anything?
Well,
okay, the Sun Mercury Cazimi in Cancer on July 16th.
Trining Neptune.
Sextile Uranus.
The most psychic day
Trine
of the whole
Neptune.
year.
Actually, it'll kind of be happening the 16th and the 17th with the moon.
So that could be the most psychic day of the whole year. The psychic 2 days. That's
especially the
revelation.
17th.
Yeah. You're seeing into the unseen on that day. For sure.
And then you see the Sun and Mercury and Ceres opposed Pluto. Like you said, the boss battle.
Yeah, that's literally it. And, I mean, if you go a year in advance, will Pluto retrograde back?
Yeah, Pluto will retrograde back.
By Cancer season?
I'll look. So we've got Sun and Mercury. Okay, so Mercury's about to leave Cancer. Oh, this is the wrong one. I'm looking for the day. Okay, well, the Sun Pluto opposition on the 19th, which is basically not everything can coexist. There has to be, something has to die off.
Forever.
Once again, in the square to the moon in Aries. So some of the most pivotal Cancer transits involve a lunar transit with the moon in Aries.
Kaboom.
Fuck.
Kaboom. And it's the last one we'll ever have. So, like, this is going to be the most intense climax and culmination coming into Capricorn. So this is also a narrative that is kicking off over the next 6 months that once again, like, learn everything that we've been through, because it's going to require all your strength. And then we skip in the courage of Leo.
You were asking about next year, if
Yeah.
Pluto will retrograde. During what, Cancer season?
Cancer season, yeah. So, oh shit. Like, what's the opposition going to be? Is it going to be in Leo? Or is
It'll
it
be
gonna
retrograde back into Capricorn by then. And the
what degree?
opposition, 29. And then when it opposes again, we're going to have another opposition, ironically, right around that new moon again next year.
Jesus.
But by then, the nodes are at 29 degrees of the cardinal sign.
Aries. Oh my god.
So it's like...
Wait, is it going to be at 29 degrees?
Yes.
Jesus Christ, guys. It's the end of the world.
Yeah.
That is insane. And that's after it retrogrades out of Aquarius. It's over.
Well, I kept saying it was going to take until the Venus retrograde in Leo for things to really start to
It's in Taurus.
change. Yeah.
Oh, shit. So it goes into the next sign earlier now,
Yeah.
too.
And the eclipses that start next year, we're going to have an eclipse in April. It'll be at 29 degrees of Aries. While the North Node is still in Taurus, but technically by degree, it's close enough to consider it a North Node eclipse.
Wow.
So, I mean, honestly, I will take a fixed square any day over a cardinal square, because cardinal square is like do or die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the time to really pay attention. Is going to be next July.
Jesus Christ. So,
Yeah.
and that's
And it's all square Pluto.
2023 to me
It's
is
trying
like
to like
chapter
reinforce that, Pluto going back into Aquarius,
one. Yeah. So
Because
it's not the same, because it's already touched Aquarius. It's already seen the aliens, and now it's coming back to restructure.
And when, just for shits and giggles, I was looking at this too. When Pluto moves back into Aquarius, it ingresses with Mars
Oh my god.
and then with Venus.
That's what
And
happened
it
with
activates,
Saturn.
yeah, it's the same as the Saturn conjunction
Jesus
that we had in
Christ.
2020.
That-
So it's basically saying like
I'm sorry,
act
that-
now, act now, act now, act now. When we see these cardinal
Does that
squares,
sound like nuclear war to you?
Well, I have said for a very long time that Pluto's ingress into Aquarius. We're going to see it briefly next year. We're going to see mass extinction.
Yeah.
We're going to see mass extinction.
We've already
We're going
had
to
our
see a
sixth mass
huge
extinction event,
level up
like-
with technology too.
I think you heard about that, right?
It's a technological war that's brewing.
Yeah,
That's what's coming,
Oh,
know.
yeah,
And the
that's
new
true.
war is not going to be war like you think. It's going to be somehow
A culture war.
I think we're going to start to see. Like the military integrating like chips and like other things, right? And like, do we have to send people? Can we send robots? But you guys don't realize this yet. It's already happening.
Mm-hmm.
The next war will be vibrational. It's vibrational hits, and it's also going to be biochemical
Like
warfare.
frequency shots
Yeah.
that they can.
Yeah,
That's a
and
fact. That's a fact.
it's viruses.
Yeah,
It's stuff in the
that's
air.
Yeah, that's also true.
And
it's quantum. You can't see it.
shutting down solar grids and all kinds of stuff. That's what this is about.
In light of that, it's almost as if they spent the Capricorn to prepare and test, and now they can like really release
Why
it
do you
with
think that
Aquarius.
Saturn and Aquarius showed up and everybody had to stay home and work from computers and then buy more and have more delivered and utilize Zoom and like learn how to just like buy because there's this massive kind of energetic jump that's coming. And the fact that Pluto fully ingresses with Mars and with Venus, oh boy.
No, for real.
Yeah.
If there was ever a time we had alien disclosure, that
Oh,
might
for
be
sure.
the
Especially
beginning of
Saturn and Pisces.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the alien disclosure could start much sooner, but I think that what we're really looking at is like the fall of everything right around here and we've talked about it, when Saturn and Neptune are, ingressing at the same time into Aries, and then we go back hopefully to like demigod worship. Hopefully we go back to altars and all these things with Saturn and Neptune, and we start realizing like we are connected to the cosmos. We could be continuing to support organizations and institutions that keep people hungry and homeless and poverty stricken and that sexually traumatized young children. I mean, it's just sounds crazy, but we're going to see the fall of organized religion. It's just that's the last thing to fall, because once aliens show up, you're going to have a really hard time convincing the masses that God exists.
Even if
you know?
aliens don't show up, like
no, they will.
That's
for sure.
completely dead.
No,
like,
they will. They have
it's
to. It's Pluto and Aquarius and Saturn.
But it
and
won't
Neptune.
be. It won't be what people expect.
No, they're in the ocean.
Yeah,
they're in the
that's
ocean,
so true. Yeah,
and they're in
too.
other dimensions, and so we're gonna
And
start
some are
learning about-
shapeshifters too.
Yeah, they're already here.
Well, that too, and you know, a lot of people don't know that Saturn, 165 years, Neptune comes around in Pisces, but Saturn coming through with the North Node, it's the end of the veil. So if you think that there's an invisible veil that maintains order in the cosmos and the birds don't just attack people randomly and the animals don't just come through, that's done.
This is the end of the age of Pisces.
That too.
The end of martyrism, the end of self-sacrifice in order to connect with God. I mean, it's
we're literally seeing the astral realm and the real realm merge together, which is going to mass extinction. I'll say that it's going to trigger. I won't say that'll be the only trigger, but you know, I like that you said the worship or bringing that back, because I've always felt like when all the veils and illusions, this will be that period where we really come into the understanding of, wow, this is exactly how we've been deceived. But I feel like Pluto in Pisces is going to set the stage for, like, after aliens, ghosts exist and paranormal, like, you know what I mean? So
it totally does, for sure.
So for people like Miss Hades here, who's cool with the Orisha and like does that work, you know what I'm saying? I think she's a zombie apocalypse ready, because Pluto can command zombies.
You forget it.
Yeah, she can probably have the zombies do the filler. You know what I mean? But you know that this might induce a lot of hysteria and like craziness in people who don't believe in this stuff and don't know how to process it. And so Cancer season of 2022 is one of those open doors into really seeing how the unseen takes place, and also seeing how you've joined membership number level 3, you know, on our membership, because you feel like this is the direction to go in. And I commend and salute you for that. So,
what do you guys think? I mean, are you guys excited for Cancer season? What do you anticipate? What are you coming up against and getting rid of or dealing with or having a standoff with in your own chart? Let us know below. Obviously, thank you guys so much for your support, for your likes, your comments, your shares, your donations, for joining us in the lives and making it possible for us to be able to drink on the internet and talk about aliens and planets. We love you very much, and we will see all of you guys very soon. Take care.